let's have some coffee and get warmed up for filming with a little book tag. Hello, book friends. It's Alyssa. Welcome back to the channel. Hello, if you are new. I was tagged by the wonderful Tracy of Tracy's Nordic Lights, which I think I got right. um, Possibly the sweetest person on BookTube. And she tagged me in this little tag called the reading taste tag, or like my reading taste tag, something to that effect. I'm going to pull it up on my phone. Um, it's just a fun little tag. I think it'll help get me kind of like ready to do some filming today because I have to do a bunch of batch filming before I go to work this afternoon or this evening, I guess. It is my morning. It's 11:30, so it is my morning. Good morning. I am fueling. I am getting ready for the day. All that jazz. So I have a few hours to myself in the house. The dogs are walked. Everybody is taken care of. I'm going to do some filming and then I have to do a bunch of editing. But that is my problem, not yours. Let's talk about the reading taste tag. This is an original tag created by Harriet Rosie 13. I will tag her below and I'll tag the original tag video as well so you can see it, and I will tag Tracy as well. So thank you, Tracy, for tagging me. I said I would get to this eventually, and here I am. So there are 8 questions. I have not prepared anything. I think I do need to show you some books, but we're not going to do that. Maybe I'll get key. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Question 1. Describe your reading taste in one sentence. My reading taste is chaotic and changes with my mood. That's really my taste. I feel like people who watch me can probably give a better judgment of what my reading taste is than what I think my reading taste is. Do you know what I mean? Like, you guys can probably do a better job with that than I can. Anyway, um, we get a little bit more nitty gritty as we go through, I think. 2, describe your reading taste with categories, genre, age, etc. Lang. I will generally read anything that sounds interesting to me, whether it's like a children's book, an adult book, a long book, a short book, a fantasy, a mystery, a whatever. However, predominantly I read adult literary fiction classics, contemporaries, stuff in that kind of bucket, mostly written by women, it seems. And so we got adult fiction, author. I length really, I think I really like a 300 to 400 page book. Like that seems to be maybe like 250 to 350. It's probably a better page range. It seems to be what I shake out to read the most, but what I love, mm, I love it. I love like a slim book, like 100, maybe 150 pages that just perfectly, like every word is perfectly chosen. Everything is just so intricately crafted that nothing is like, we're not sparing anything. Like the author understands that they have limited space, time, etc., and they are just so economical with their language to the point where this is just precision. It's precision writing. That is my favorite kind of book. And I love when I find one of those, because when you find one that's like really done well, like Passing by Nella Larson, it just hits so differently, and it's good. It's just it's next level, and I love when an author can do that. I think that is like, you are a top-notch author when you can do these, like when you can create the same emotional resonance as with like 10 words as somebody else needs like 3 pages for. You know what I mean? I think that's a skill that not everybody has, and I love it, and I'm here for it. That was really the question, I think, but I think we covered most of it. Show us a few books that represent your reading taste. I will put some pictures, I guess, because I'm not gonna run around the house and find books this morning. It's too hot for that. You can see a lot of things behind me. Where is she? I love Virginia Woolf. Large part of my personality is Virginia Woolf. You probably can't see it because of how I'm sitting and the lights, but I love Edith Wharton. She's right here. And I love how they probably would have hated each other and probably did. I love Jane Austen. Uh, I also love, so that's like kind of the classics I kind of like. I also love like Otessa Moshfegh. I like, oh, clearly she's over here. Uh, I really love Lily Kang. I think that she's phenomenal. Um, I love Daphne du Maurier and um, Ocean Vuong. I'm reading The Emperor of Gladness right now. I've been on a mid-century sort of modern kick, and it seems to be very much like women in Britain writing mid-century modern kind of novels. Really loving those. I don't know what I'm going to put up for that, but like I have a whole video about books I found so far. And there's more. I would go to Persephone Books if you want to try mid-century modern. Um, I would just go find some of the things that they have there in their catalog because they have some really great stuff. A lot of it written by women. I really love like fun sort of historical mystery romances. So like Veronica Speedwell, uh, The Secret History of the Pink Carnation. Those are some of my top favorites. I love like a lot of Deanna Raybourne's. She's got a bunch of them, and Tasha Alexander has some. I love those just for like refreshing breaths of fresh air kind of reads. I love a good fantasy sometimes. I have to be in the mood for it, and I usually like either like really cozy things like the quintessential Legends and Lattes, or I like really beautiful lyrical things, much like Tracy in the. And I also love Strange Dreamer. I have a couple copies of Strange Dreamer because I love it so much. And I also just really like big, epic, complex kind of stories that take a little work to get through. I do like that. I love Robin Hobb. I got to get back on my Hobb journey. I've abandoned them all, and I need to go back. But I just haven't had that like fantasy vibe. I'm looking over at Fantasy Corner, which is an absolute mess. All my bookshelves are a mess, by the way. There's like so many gaps and holes and things because I haven't been shelving. I said this in another video because of my injury. So I like things have accumulated, and now that like hail to Pilates, not about this video, but hail to Pilates. It's really helping my back. Joseph Pilates knew what he was doing. I I can start to shelve things, but I don't have the time now, so I need to find the time to go through. And there's more unhauling that has to happen, but that is not the point of this. Oh, I love Sally Rooney because of course I do. I'm a basic white girl on the internet. I love Sally Rooney. She just hits something in me. I don't know what to tell you. I think that covers it. Does that make sense? Does that give you a good representation of the things that I like? If you really want to know what I'm reading all the time, I do a mostly weekly. It's gotten a little out of control with different things. I'm trying to get back on track and not be so overwhelmed. Um, I do a weekly-ish newsletter over on Substack. Trying to find balance in life is hard. Um, I read a lot of books. You can follow along there if you want to know exactly what I read, or just look at one of my wrap-ups. Like I read a lot of books, like from a lot of different stuff, like areas. I love translated lit. Um, Claudia Pinheiro is probably like one of my favorites. Anyway, I can go on and on. I'm gonna stop. A book you didn't enjoy that seemed like your taste. You know which I think has surprised a lot of people is All Fours by Miranda July. I really did not enjoy that. And it really does sound like something I would enjoy. Like middle-aged woman, rocky marriage, starts to kind of like lose her mind a little bit. It's a little quirky, it's a little weird, it's a little like sexual at times. I just didn't enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy it. I did not care. And Then I was in a hotel room with a bunch of friends who had read it, and they were like, they're all like, I can't believe you didn't like it, because it really does sound like something I would like. And I just couldn't get behind it. And they started to like summarize it for me and tell me like what happens like later on in the book. There were like weird body rolly dance moves involved. And I just felt validated in DNFing that book, because no, I did not miss anything. And if you loved it, that's great. I love that for you. I did not. It did not connect in any way. So that one's probably one of the more shocking recent ones. It doesn't happen a lot. Sometimes I can see good things in it, like Lolly Willows. I really enjoyed Lolly Willows for some of the stuff that is happening in it, and I can kind of see why when it was published it was maybe like a little bit of like a sensational kind of novel. But I felt like we could have added some breadcrumbs sooner for certain things. I felt like there was like an impact. It was like an almost like the story was almost there for me. It like almost did what the intro was saying it did. Like the intro hyped it up too. So and so did the Harvard bookstore clerk that checked me out, because he was like, "This is my favorite book ever." And I was like, "Oh, excellent. This is gonna be so good." And then it was just so fine. I wouldn't say I disliked it. I really did like it. I think about it as sort of like a building block for what Wolf is doing with stream of consciousness, and like where she took literature, and they're contemporaries, but Sylvia Townsend Warner is like pre was writing before Wolf. So I can see how like authors could have like built on each other and what they were doing and boundaries they were pushing. But it just didn't hit the way I expected it to. I expected it to be like my new favorite novel, and it was literally fine. But that's usually where was I going with this? That's usually how that goes. I usually don't hate something. Well, I do hate things, but like usually if it's something that I think I'm gonna like, there's usually something in it that I appreciate. All fours it was an example of like all right, a book you enjoyed that didn't seem like it would be your taste. This one is a little harder for me. I have to think about this. I don't know. No, you know what book didn't feel like it would be my taste, and is anything that I'm reading by Thomas Pynchon. Because yes, while I had a really complicated reading experience with Gravity's Rainbow, there's just like something kind of alluring about his writing. I don't know if it's like the unlocking the key and understanding this madman's writing. I don't know what it is. But then reading Mason Dixon, that was a delight. That was wonderful. That was amazing. And when you realize like what he actually is doing to like write in that language, it gave me the same awe as A.S. Byatt and Possession, and how she's writing these poems, and she's basically like she's writing like lyrical poems like she's, I don't know, in like the Georgian era. And then she's writing the story in like the 90s or whatever, or the late 80s. And it's just so skillful, right? You're like, this author is so skilled at like wordsmithing. That's how I feel reading Mason Dixon. That's how I feel reading Thomas Pynchon. I just feel like Gravity's Rainbow is just a little bit over the top for maybe no reason at some points, but I get yelled at enough on the internet about my opinions on Gravity's Rainbow. We're gonna leave it there. But yeah, I didn't think that I would somehow start collecting all of his books and be excited for his newest release coming out in the fall. Like I did not think that I would be that person. I thought I would read Gravity's Rainbow sort of as a joke, and it was a little bit of a joke, but it's evolving because he actually is kind of a genius. It's a weird experience, and I did not know I was gonna like it, and I'm liking it. I think that's the best answer, honestly. Number 6, show us some books on your TBR that seem like they will be exactly your taste. Okay, so I have a couple books off to the side here that I'm going to show you because they're waiting to be read. So I just picked this up from the library, and this is Autobiography of My mouth isn't working. This is Autobiography of X by Catherine Lacey. I've wanted to read this for a while, but I just haven't gotten around to it. Where am I sitting here? I'll put it here. I just haven't gotten around to it. So I finally just got this from the library. So excited to try that. I've been looking for it thrifted and I can't find it. I'm going to start Death of the Heart by Elizabeth Bowen. I'm reading this with my friend Naomi. I'm also going to be reading The Narrows by Anne Petrie with Naomi as well. I've read books from both of these authors before and I loved them, so we're going to see how I feel about these. These are both significantly chunkier than the other books that I've read by them. Let me see if there's anything else kind of hanging out here that I can show you. There's always, there's so many books in this house. All right, I'll give you one more. I know I said I wasn't going to run around, so I'm not going to run around. But The Dry Season by Melissa Fabos. I'm just getting ready to read this. I haven't had like I don't know where I'm going to slip this in, but it'll happen probably before the end of the summer. This is her newest release of essays, and I absolutely loved Girlhood. So I'm really excited for this one. And this one, she is reflecting on it. Like she's like a year of basically celibacy, and then she's sort of reflecting on that. I really like personal sort of essays. I like kind of personal essays that get wrapped up into something else, be it like a sort of memoir, or a feminist manifesto, travel writing. That's really good. I like that. A look at art or something like that. Or like a a deep dive into art that leans into like the personal essay and how art affects the author. I like those kinds of stories. Yeah, I think that's a good selection. There's a lot of stuff on my TBR, let's be honest. There just is. I don't know what to tell you. I want to read everything. And I'm not going to have enough time before I die. Anyway, a booktuber you watch that has similar tastes to you. I'm going to be honest with you. I do watch some booktube. I don't watch as much as I think I probably could. And a lot of it is like me watching my friends. But I think Loxter reads Tony. Tony is my friend. Tony and I read a lot of similar things, but he has like a huge history section of his reading that I don't do. I don't care about that. I mean, I care about history. It's just there's other fun things for me to read. Karen Reader and I read similarly in a lot of ways. I don't know. There's like I think I read so broadly that it's hard to be like, there's this other person that reads so broadly, and there probably is. But I think the reason why like my channel's not huge or I don't have like this giant following or anything is because I read almost too broadly, and it would be easier for algorithms if I would just niche down into something and be like, I'm the lit fit girly, or like I only read fantasy or romance or something. I think it would be much easier for the algorithms to pin me down and push me out to people and then maybe grow a following. So I'm assuming that there's probably other people that are like that on the internet and in like the booktube space, and I just haven't found them yet. There's people that read like close, like that I enjoy things like um Hannah's books, I think. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly. Um, she reads a lot of things that I really enjoy, but not everything. Tracy reads a lot of things that I enjoy, but not everything. Um, yeah, I don't really know. I don't think there's like one person. I think you have to watch a bunch of different people. Yeah, this would be an easier question if I had like a niche, I think. And I don't have a niche. My niche is I read. Reading is my niche. And then finally, have you always had this taste in books or has it changed over time? I think there's been a little bit of change that's happened over time, but in general, I mean, I grew up reading like Anna Green Gables, Laura Ingalls Wilder, Little House on the Prairie. I can't remember. Is it Wild or Wilder? Editing Alyssa will fix it. Anyway, I read classics. Like I read Austen when I was young, Heidi, A Little Princess, Secret Garden. Like I wasn't reading a lot of stuff written in like the 80s and 90s for people my age. So I think there's always been this sort of affinity to classics, older literature, older stories in general. So like that's always kind of been there, and I think it's easy to make that leap maybe from the classics to like literary fiction. But I did have like a big sort of Regency kind of romance phase, particularly in the mystery romance area. I had a huge like thriller phase of reading, and I don't do as much of that anymore. That's more of like a like a break kind of reading. That's like a mental break. I found that reading just those genres got very repetitive and very boring to some extent because everything ends up kind of feeling the same. There's a flattening that happens when you read in those sort of formulaic genres. For me, that's how I feel. So, what I like about like contemporary literature, women's literary fiction, that kind of area, or even fantasy, is that you can, to some extent, like broadly fantasy, you can, not romantasy, you can see like more stories. There's more variety, so I don't get quite as bored if because I read a lot. So it's really easy to, at volume, eventually get kind of bored and find a genre tedious. Um, I've really been in a nonfiction sort of kick. And I think that that's probably the newest thing that came into my life. And I think that's because of getting on bookish social media and doing like nonfiction November. And suddenly I realized I don't hate nonfiction. And audiobooks really helped with that as well because I found that I could listen to something that I would otherwise maybe find a little dry and boring if I was reading. But now that someone's telling me it, it kind of brings it to life. And it feels more like a podcast or documentary, which I've always really enjoyed. And that has got me to fall down a rabbit hole of really liking nonfiction. So, yeah, I think it has changed over time, but it's been on all these little shifts, these little moves to get me kind of where I am today, which is, I don't know what, reading really chaotically. It's interesting compiling the posts for Substack sometimes because I have such it feels different on Substack. The strange like breadth of things that I could be reading feels weirder to talk about on Substack. Maybe because Substack, at least my world of Substack, feels a lot more literary. So like when I throw in a random cheeky little romance or something, it feels out of place. It doesn't feel that way when I talk about it on BookTube because I feel like I've always been kind of chaotic over here. I don't know. That's just a random thought I'm having. But yeah, I'm going to tag a few people below if you would like to do this tag. I think it's a lovely little tag. I think it's got me warmed up for recording. This mug is cute, but it's really hard to figure out like where to sip out of it. I feel like I always have to like do a corner. Maybe my nose is too big. I don't know. Anyway, my TBR will kill me one day. Anyway, I will tag some people. I'm going to get myself ready to film some other things. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want.